Hello there. A very good evening to all of you. This is Hartaj, and what we'll be doing now is going through your CDS paper, which I have made a mock. Now, something that I would want to tell you from this, I know it's late, but I really do not have time because this paper is going to be very fascinating for you. Why is this paper really important? I'll also explain to you. First, I'll explain and then I'll start with the entire thing. What we are going to do with this paper, what are the sections that we did, what were the things we did, how did we go about it. I'm going to explain you all the things related to the same. Now, listen to me carefully when I will be telling you about it, how you had to attempt, what were the things you had to attempt, what were the things you did not have to attempt in this paper. That's something the purpose of it is. And also, I can say this with full confidence, you will not find any tougher mock like this anywhere. Because काफ़ी लोग बोलते हैं कि भाई हमारे क्लोज है एग्जाम से, पर नहीं. What we do at New Careers is very simple. We study the previous year's papers, the pattern, the vocabulary trend, and design the questions that are most likely to appear in your CDS paper. And I say this with full authority. The type of words and structure you see here are very likely to appear in your examinations. Well, the challenge क्या है, इसको attempt करो seriously and do not treat it like a practice sheet. Treat it like your actual CDS paper. अगर आपने नहीं दिया है अभी तो इस वीडियो को पॉज कर दो, टेलीग्राम पे जाओ, वहाँ पे आपको ये पेपर मैक्सिमम मैं 2 दिन दे रहा हूँ, उसके बाद मैं इस पेपर को हटा दूंगा. सो अगर आपके पास टाइम है आप अभी कर लो, बिकॉज उसके बाद दिस पेपर इज नाउ नाउ नो लॉन्गर गोइंग टू बी देयर फॉर एवरी पर्सन विलिंग टू गेट थ्रू. भाई ये पेपर कर लो, फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, इफ यू डू दिस पेपर you would be more than ahead of everybody, and I can say with full authority this is something that we would expect to see in the papers for sure. तो आप ये पक्का कर लो. अगेन अटेम्पटेशन में क्या है, इस पेपर में जो भी आपका बेसिक पैटर्न रहता है ना, कि भाई ये चीज़ आता है ये चीज़ नहीं आता, वो पैटर्न मैंने फॉलो किया है, उस पैटर्न को अच्छी तरह से एक्सप्लेन किया है और उसी पैटर्न पे हम आगे चलेंगे. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द फर्स्ट वन. ईच सेंटेंस contains an underlined word. Choose the option best replaces the underlined word in the context of the sequence is what they've asked you. Now, अगर किसी को नहीं आया, let me explain you the entire thing in brief. Slowly आपको explain कर देता. अगर मैं बात करता हूँ, the committee found the witness testimony equivocal, making it difficult to arrive to a definitive conclusion. अब हम बात करते हैं equivocal का. इसमें क्या हुआ कि भाई डेफिनेटिव कंक्लूजन नहीं आया, मतलब कि इट वाज नॉट, एक डेफिनेशन नहीं थी, उसकी मल्टीपल डेफिनेशंस थी, इस करके हमने वर्ड यूज किया इक्विवोकल. राइट. अब जनरली हम बोलते हैं समथिंग विच इज ओपन टू वन और मोर इंटरप्रिटेशंस, उसको हम ये बोलते हैं. अगर मैं बात करूं एम्बिगुअस, एम्बिगुअस मींस समथिंग विच इज नॉट क्लियर, तो ये सीम्स मोर करेक्ट, हम इसको मार्क कर देते हैं, बोलते हैं मोस्ट लाइकली करेक्ट है. फर्स्ट. बी की बात करूं, डिसइनजेनुअस. व्हाट डज द वर्ड डिसइनजेनुअस मीन? somebody जो सिंसियर ना हो. somebody not sincere is what we call as disingenuous. Yes. Now, please, all these words are going to be very important, and keep on writing. Have a register with you. Keep on remembering these words, because if you don't remember these words, there is very good possibility that this word might come in your paper. Again, I'm giving you with reason. What does this mean? Specious refers to superficial, plausible, but actually wrong. हमें दिखता वो सही है, पर वो एक्चुअल में क्या होता है, वो गलत होता है. उसको हम बोलते हैं स्पेकियस और स्पीशियस. दोनों वर्ड्स की प्रोनाउंसिएशन हम यूज कर सकते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ लैंग्वेजेस. मूविंग अहेड, circuitous. Circuitous means going round and round. This is something that we, when we go round and round, उसको हम बोलते हैं circuitous. He went circuitous around it. Like say for example, when we talk about a dog tends to go circuitous, means go round and round again for his tail and something, वो अपनी tail को देखता रहता है, so he goes in a circuitous way. So again इसका आंसर रहा A. Let's move ahead. The scholar was criticized for his didactic tone. The scholar was criticized for his didactic tone. अब criticism मिला, that means people did not like what he said. That is why we call it as criticism. आई होप ये क्लियर है, इसको हम बोलते हैं क्रिटिसिज्म इस करके, है ना। which many readers found unnecessarily preachy. Preachy का मतलब होता है प्रवचन दे रहा था. That is what we have. Now all four options are very nice. Pedantic क्या होता है? Generally somebody, हम बोलते हैं दो words होते हैं, pedantic और erudite होता है. Pedantic is somebody who's going to ask you stupid questions. भाई 2 plus 2 4, 2 plus 2 4 क्यों है? That's what we call pedantic. Stupid नहीं था. Scholar was scholar. Scholar means he's a topper. He was criticized for his didactic tone, which may, which many readers found unnecessary preaching. The didactic is generally when we say intending to preach a moral lesson. Didactic का मतलब ये होता है. Dogmas क्या होते हैं? हम dogmas बोलते हैं ना कि assumptions या फिर assertions किसी पे किया जाए, like social dogmas हैं, तो हम इसको बोलते हैं assertions, और ये सब तो वो होते हैं आपके dogmas. Moving ahead, let's move ahead. Pontificate, pontifical. Now pontiff क्या होता है? जनरली पॉन्टिफ्स आर पीपल जो जनरली अथॉरिटी दिखाएं और बोले कि हम भाई बहुत सुप्रीम हैं, हमारे से बेटर कोई नहीं है, हम उनको पॉन्टिफ्स बोलते हैं ना. पॉन्टिफिकेशन क्या हो जाएगा? पॉन्टिफिकल क्या हो गया? स्पीकिंग इन अ पॉम्पस वे. स्पीकिंग इन अ पॉम्पस वे और बोम्बास्टिक, ये दोनों इसके सिनोनिम्स हैं. तो यहाँ पे ये भी गलत है, ये भी है. होरेटरी, it's generally advising tone. He spoke in a hortatory tone is what we call as advising. So hortatory refers to advising. So that's option D, because he says didactic is also intending to teach. So hortatory also becomes like this. I hope ye sabko clear. Moving ahead, we come to the third word, and all these words are very, very important. I can promise you, is vocab paper mein, the paper that we are doing right now, any paper I'm repeating, at least 20% of the paper will be vocab will come from this. Remember this. That is what I'm saying. ये words in section में जो आप देख रहे हो are not random dictionary words. These are words that have been repeated in the papers over and over again. Even if you don't answer them today, remember the word, because अगर आप वहाँ पे जाके this will increase your chance of scoring it up more. So please, even if it was difficult, I agree, the paper was difficult, but I've made sure that if you do this paper, you will be very good. But remembering the words is important. The governor attempted to assuage public anxiety after the financial scandal surfaced. जो governor था उसने सबको mollify करने की कोशिश की. Assuage means making unpleasant feeling less intense. So assuage is another word for mollify. It is another word for placate. किसी को शांत कराए, है ना. After the financial scandal surfaced, because financial scandal हुआ, इसकी वजह से वो ट्राई कर रहा था सबको मॉडिफाई कर दे, प्लाकेट कर दे कि लोग ये ना करें. That's what he tried to do. Okay, now let's just understand the word. What does mollify or placate means? Mollify means calm down. Again, mollify ही word है. Propitiate क्या होता है? Propitiate is generally win favor of someone. Often हम बोलते हैं winning favor, है ना. What we say, winning favor of someone in power. So basically propitiation is generally often called deifying someone, worshipping someone, उसको बोलते हैं. DEIFY word है, किसी को अपना डेटी मान लेना या डेफी करना, उसको हम बोलते हैं. प्लाकेट क्या होता है? प्लाकेट अगेन मीन्स पैसिफाई और काम. इट ऑल्सो मीन्स पैसिफाई और काम. अब देखो हमारे पास दो वर्ड आ गए, मॉलिफाई और प्लाकेट. अब दोनों का डिफरेंस करेंगे बिकॉज दोनों सही करेक्ट लग रहे हैं. कंसैलिएटरी मेजर क्या होता है? जनरली टू रिस्टोर फ्रेंडलीनेस. द गवर्नर अटेम्प्टेड टू assuage पब्लिक एंजाइटी. उसने शांत करने की कोशिश की आफ्टर द फाइनेंशियल स्कैंडल सर्फेड. मॉलिफाई इज फॉर वन पर्सन, लाइक जनरली व्हेन वी से मॉलिफाई इज फॉर चिल्ड्रन. जब हम प्लाकेट करते हैं, प्लाकेशन इज अ वर्ड व्हिच इज यूज्ड फॉर मासेस. placate, a very good example, इंग्लिश में आपने सुना होगा placate the masses. अगर आपने ये किया होता तो भाई you would have done really wonderful, because placation of masses is something which we say is amazing. Placate the masses, again a tough paper, I agree. तो यहाँ पे अगर जिसने modify किया, sorry, but that is where the marks get cut. Again, I'm going very slow to explain you this paper because this paper requires explanation. The general warned that any further delay would jeopardize the entire military operation. Jeopardize क्या होता है? Is to put in danger. हाँ, अगर भाई further delay होगी तो जो problem है वो further problem में आ जाएगा, further issue आ जाएगा. That is what we say put in danger. Now, what does the word imperil mean? Let's understand the word imperil. It also means in danger. To put somebody in danger or something is what we say imperil. So ये भी word है in danger or in danger. Vitiate. Now, how many of you do not know the meaning of word vitiate? It means to spoil or it means to invalidate. That is what we say is vitiate. Vitiate means to spoil or invalidate. So ये गलत हो गया. Compromise, you know, compromise someone's position, weaken. यहाँ पे वो वाला compromise नहीं है, weaken वाला है. Next we come to the word subvert, overthrow, secretly. जैसे कि हम बोलते हैं हम सबवर्ट करेंगे किसी उस आदमी को जो हमें इशू दे, उसको हम बोलते हैं सबवर्ट. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल इट एज सबवर्ट. The professor, now we come to the sixth one. The professor explanation was so recondite that even advanced students struggled to follow it. What is recondite? The professional explanation was recondite that even advanced, मतलब कि इतनी difficult explanation थी that people were not able to understand the meaning of the thing. So something which is very difficult to understand, very difficult to understand, उसको हम बोलते हैं recondite. Now let's come with the words. What do we have? Abstruse. Abstruse is difficult to comprehend. Yes. मैंने याद करने का तरीका देता abs है, आपके आने मुश्किल है. So that is difficult to comprehend. What is arcane? Arcane is something which is known by few. बहुत कम को पता हो. That is what we say arcane. Esoteric. Esoteric is generally something which is understood by a very small group is what we call is esoteric. Understood by small group. Inscrutable, that is something which is impossible to interpret, something that you cannot interpret. So answer is option A. I hope ये सबको clear. The minister's statement was considered perfunctory, revealing little concerns for the gravity of the crisis. मतलब कि जो उसने statement जैसे इंडियन politicians करते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, उन्होंने just एक basic statement दे देते हैं. It is just ऊपर ऊपर से, है ना? So it is something which is done with ऊपर ऊपर से. So perfunctory refers to something done with little interest or care. That is what we say. Done with little interest or care is what we say perfunctory. Cursory means something which is done quickly. Desultory. Desultory is means lacking plan. Superficial injury. ऊपर ऊपर से lacking depth. बोलते हैं ना superficial injury. Something which is not true. Summary. Summary means to concise something, brief about something. तो इसमें हमारा ऑप्शन ए आ गया. His reputation for integrity remained unsullied. How many of you heard the word unsullied? अगर आपने Game of Thrones देखा होगा वहां पे हम unsullied use करते थे. So what does unsullied means? Something which is not spoiled or damaged. So उनको unsullied force क्यों बोलते थे? Because they were not under influence of anybody. इस करके हम उनको बोलते थे unsullied. अगर मैं बात करूं अनसलीड का मतलब होता है नॉट स्पॉइल्ड और डैमेज्ड. उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता था बिकॉज दे वर एट अ यंग एज कास्टरेटेड, सो दे हैड नो डिजायर्स, सो दैट इज व्हाई वी कॉल इट अनसलीड. सो इसमें आ गया अनइम्पीच्ड. इम्पीच्ड क्या होता है? किसी को निकालना. अनइम्पीच्ड मीन समथिंग व्हिच कैन नॉट बी चैलेंज्ड लीगली, है ना? irreproachable, something which cannot be criticized, उसको हम बोलते हैं irreproachable. So हाँ. फिर आया impeccable. Impeccable means flawless. The team India's record in T20 is impeccable, flawless. Unblemished क्या होता है? spotless. Something that you cannot see is what we call is unblemished. That is what we have is unblemished. I hope ये सबको clear हो गया हो what is the cases. Now let's continue further. The negotiator adopted a conciliatory approach to resolve the long-standing diplomatic dispute. Conciliatory means again placate करना, किसी को शांत करना. Placatory word हमारे पास बन रहा है. Propitiatory हमने already किया है, appeasing to idea. Accommodating is somebody who's willing to help. That is what we say accommodating. Pacific क्या होता है? Pacific portion का word ही बना है peaceful से, remember. Pacific is pacify, peaceful. The scientist dismissed the claim as spurious. The scientist dismissed the claim as spurious. Spurious means fake. Lacking any empirical evidence या something which is fake. Spurious के लिए एक और word होता है pseudo. That is the words that we have. Spurious, fake, pseudo. ये सब words उसी के लिए हो जाते हैं. तो हमसे पूछा the scientist dismissed the claim as spurious, lacking any empirical evidence. It means false, something which is not appearing genuine, उसको हम बोलते हैं. What does specious refers to? Superficial, plausible, but false. अभी किया था. Seems okay. Fallacy. Fallacy means based on false reasoning. Spurious is fake, but this is not fallacy. यहाँ पे scientists dismiss the claim as specious, lacking any empirical. Chimerical means imaginary. Empirical means chimerical is solving and empirical is a imaginary. So fallacious क्या हो जाएगा? Fallacy based on false reasoning. Unfounded means lacking evidence, है ना? Counterfeit means fake. अब आप बोलोगे फेक और हमारे पास स्पेकियस. द साइंटिस्ट डिसमिस द क्लेम एज स्पूरियस लैकिंग एनी एम्पिरिकल एविडेंस. एज फेक हम बोल सकते हैं काउंटरफिट. हाँ, सीम्स ओके. फेक इमिटेशन. बट काउंटरफिट जैसे बोलते हैं ना, काउंटरफिट नोट होता है, काउंटरफिट आपकी करेंसी होती है. यहाँ पे it is basically it's a claim, so it is not cannot be counterfeit. यहाँ पे word आएगा specious. Specious means false but appearing genuine. तो आप evidence किसी को ऐसा दे सकते. Next, the author's criticism of the government was so trenchant that it provoked widespread debate. Now, what does the word trenchant refers to? It was incisive. It was sharp. It was something which caused a lot of harm. So incisive is sharp, analytical. Option A seems okay. Caustic. Caustic is caustic arguments. Satirical. It is humorous. उसको हम बोलते हैं caustic. Mordant क्या होता है? Again, it is biting sarcasm. अब ये मैं आपको बताता हूँ क्या होता है biting sarcasm. It's a very nice word. So when we are sarcastically appealing to someone, और वो जो sarcasm है वो काफी deadly हो, उसको हम बोलते हैं ये चीज mordant. Scathing means critical. Scathing means critical. That is what we have. Scathing refers to critical. I hope ये सबको clear हो. These are the words that we have. So we had the following ones. Now we come to spotting errors. This is something that I like to do. Again, something which is very simple. Now in the case I gave spotting errors as simple. I would be very honest, spotting errors according to me was simpler. Let's start with the first one. The officer was accused for having misappropriated government funds during the audit. Now you are not, for is for a reason. Accused of, you are accused of, not accused for. तो यहाँ पे आपका जो error था वो किसके ऊपर था? It was based on your prepositions. अगर आपके prepositions correct होते आप इसको correct कर लेते. Next, we move on to the 12th one. Hardly had the committee raised the discussion when several members began to raised नहीं आएगा, it began to raise new objections. So option bravo is the answer. So it's began to raise. So base form of the verb है तो उसके साथ raise नहीं आएगा, raise आएगा. Next, the principal along with the senior teachers were present during the inspection conducted. The principal along with senior teachers. Now when the subject is followed by along with या together with as well as, तो the verb generally agrees with the first subject. याद रखना together आ जाए आपके पास, मार्क कर देता हूँ. The principal along with the senior teachers were present. फिर बोल रहा हूँ along with कहीं पे आ जाए या together with आ जाए, तो हम फर्स्ट वाले को देखेंगे वो क्या है, वो सिंगुलर फॉर्म में हो जाएगा. द प्रिंसिपल सिंगुलर है, was present आ जाएगा. ऑप्शन बी इज द आंसर. He refrained to comment. He refrained to comment on the matter in order to avoid any unnecessary controversy. So he refrained to comment. गलत है. He refrained from commenting. To is for a purpose, है ना? That is the case. He refrained from commenting on the matter. Option A answer आ जाएगा. Certain verbs require preposition and gerund, like refrain from speaking, refrain from or abstain from voting. So ये एक simple सा चीज था. You should have been able to do it. Option A is your answer. The students were prohibited to enter the laboratory without wearing proper safety. Prohibited someone from doing something अगर हम बात करते हैं, तो आपने बोला prohibited to enter. अगर मैं किसी को बोलूँ prohibit to enter नहीं होता, they were prohibited from entering. So there's a purpose for it. So the answer would be prohibited from entering. So that's your option A. That will be the case. She is one of the most talented scientists who has contributed significantly to this field. She is one of the most talented scientists who has contributed. One of the is a plural noun plus who. So when we say who has, scientists है यहाँ पे, so one of the, so it would be have contributed. She is one of the most talented scientists who have contributed. The rule क्या है? Relative clause to plural pronoun. Remember this. Relative clause to plural pronoun. The government is committed for. The committed is committed to. Again, for नहीं होता, committed to होता है. Option A answer. The speaker emphasized about the importance of discipline. The speaker emphasized about the importance of discipline in maintaining institutional integrity. Now, the verb emphasize does not take about. Emphasize about नहीं होता, emphasize the importance. About की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Concerning others नहीं है. So he's concerning in general speaking. So he doesn't have to take permission. That is the case. I hope ये clear है. The report comprises of. Now this question has come in the paper. Imagine this question has come in the paper. I'll be discussing this same. The report comprises of. Comprises के साथ of नहीं होता. Of की जगह क्या आ जाएगा? Several recommendations. Comprises several recommendations. Of will not be in this case. Comprise already refers to consist of. Therefore, comprises of is incorrect. Another example to you would be the committee comprises 5 members, not comprises of. The room comprises of, in that case, is correct. Neither the manager nor the workers, neither the manager nor the workers were aware of the challenges introduced recently. Neither the manager nor the workers were aware is correct. Option D answer रहेगा. इसमें answer A था. Now, each of the following sentences contains a blank space. 4 options. Select the preposition of phrasal usage which is the best. His argument is not consistent with. Now, consistent with, it's equivalent to in agreement or in harmony. तो आपका consistent with आ जाएगा option B. The officer was entrusted dash the responsibility of supervising the entire operation. The officer was, अगर हम बात करते हैं, the officer was entrusted dash the responsibility. It is again would be with. You entrust someone with something. I entrust you with this responsibility. So your answer is B. The committee has taken serious exceptions to. एक्सेप्शन टू, एक्सेप्शंस टू द रूल होता है. सो इट्स सिंपल है, ऑप्शन ए आंसर आ जाएगा. द सक्सेस ऑफ द एंटायर प्रोजेक्ट hinges on, you hinge on something. Again, you hinge on something, it rests upon. Hinge का मतलब होता है rest upon. So answer is on. On नहीं है तो upon कर दिया. The scientist's findings are in conformity. Conformity means in agreement to. Agreement हमेशा किसके साथ होता है? To के साथ. So this is the case. In are in conformity to the earlier research conducted on the subject. So here it will be conformity to. I conform to the situation. Now this one is very, very important. 26th one is very important. Discuss. In the following items, similar sounding words are given, followed by the sentences in which of these words have been used and underlined. Identify the sentences in which the underlined words have been used correctly. So when I say abjure from violence, abjure means to renounce, किसी को छोड़ देना, है ना? The monk decided to abjure worldly pleasure. छोड़ दिया उसने, correct है. That is it. That is ABJUERE. Adjure, the meaning was adjured. Generally when we say urge or command someone, किसी को urge or command करें, the lawyer attempted to urge the witness to speak, उसको गुहार लगाई. Adjure also refers to the word beseech. Another word is solicit. Another word is pleading. Perjury. Perjury क्या होता है? Perjury is generally we say when, जब हम अंडर ओथ कुछ गलत बोलें उसको हम बोलते हैं perjury. उसने perjury किया while speaking. He spoke something wrong, so that is what we call as perjury. है ना? उसने जब perjury किया उसको हम बोल देते हैं ये चीज़, उसको हम बोलेंगे perjury. ओके इसमें आया द अक्यूज्ड वाज चार्ज्ड विद पर्जर. पर्जर ही नहीं आएगा, पर्जरी आएगा. तो थर्ड स्टेटमेंट रॉन्ग होगी. आपके पास ऑप्शन ए रह गया. Dilatory. Can anyone tell me how do we use the word dilatory? It's a very simple word. The word dilatory comes from the word the committee commended the dilation. जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना आई में ड्रॉप्स पड़े तो हम बोलते हैं डायलेटरी हो गया. It is also refers to dilation. Sorry, the dilation word is widening. Dilatory here is, I'm sorry, I did not see the word. Dilatory is generally we say intended to delay. Intended to delay. और डायलेशन होता है जब आपको, आपने देखा होगा कितने गए हैं ऑक्यूलिस्ट के पास, वो आई ड्रॉप्स पाता है तो आपकी आईज वाइड हो जाती हैं, उसको हम बोलते हैं डायलेटरी. डिलेटरी इज जनरली इट्स, इसको रॉन्ग तरीके से यूज किया गया है. द विटनेस वाज क्रिटिसाइज्ड फॉर मेकिंग डेरोगेटरी होएगा, एलिगेशंस विदाउट एलिवेशन. यहाँ पे डिलेटरी वर्ड नहीं आएगा, डेरोगेटरी आएगा. द कमिटी कंडेम्ड द मिनिस्टर फॉर अडॉप्टिंग डायलेटरी टैक्टिक्स. डायलेटरी मीन्स इंटेंडिंग टू डिले to the investigation. The report discussed the dilation of blood vessels. It means widening, so it is correct. 1 and 3 is correct, so your option B is correct. Obdurate, obduracy and obfuscate. Obdurate means somebody who is जिद्दी, उसको हम बोलते हैं obdurate, है ना? Somebody who is जिद्दी, उसको हम बोलेंगे obdurate. Obduracy क्या होता है? Obduracy is a noun generally meaning stubbornness. Noun form में होता है obduracy. Anything ending with y is that. What does obfuscate means? Obfuscate. Obfuscate is a very interesting word that we have. Obfuscate generally refers to uh, uh, very, let me give you an example of it. Obfuscation is generally to confuse or to make unclear. Obfuscation something, right? So when we talk about it, despite repeated appeals, the officials remain obdurate in his refusal to reconsider. So option 1 is correct. Obduracy, the negotiators were frustrated by the leaders of the stubborn obduracy, meaning stubbornness is correct. Obdurate, the spokesperson attempted to obdurate the facts in during the press conference case. इसमें मतलब होना चाहिए था obfuscate, छुपाना, not obdurate. तो इसमें थर्ड स्टेटमेंट को गलत यूज किया हुआ है, 3 गलत हुआ है, तो ऑप्शन ए इज करेक्ट. Another word, reprobate. It means somebody who is morally corrupt. Reprobate, it means somebody who is morally corrupt. उसको बोलते हैं reprobate. Probity. What does the word probity refers to? Probity is means honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity. Reprobation. Reprobation is strong disapproval. strong disapproval. The corrupt official was widely regarded as a moral reprobate. Reprobate is, again, as I said, it's absolutely correct. It means morally corrupt person, correct. The judges praised the officer for his unique, questionable probity. Probity refers to honesty and senior, that is the word. The parliament expressed super strong reprobation of the minister's conduct. Reprobation refers to strong misconduct. So option D is my answer. Punishes. So when we say punishes, something which is harmful. Perspicacious. What does the word perspicacious refers to? Somebody who's having a keen insight or perception, that is what we call as perspicacious. Somebody who's keen to learn something, that is what we call as perspicacious. That is what we have. Now moving ahead, uh, then is perspicacious. Perspicacious. Something which is clearly and easy to understand is what we call as perspicacious. So something which is easy to understand, that is what we call as perspicacious. It's a very simple word. Now coming, the spread of misinformation have pernicious. Pernicious refers to harmful. Correct. The detective was praised for his perspicacious. अब ये word भी आ चुका है. That's a word. Perspicacious refers to is a keen insight or perception. So option 2. The professor gave a perspicacious explanation. अब इसमें perspicuous नहीं पूछा, perspicacious दिया है, याद रखना. Perspicuous is clear and easy to understand. Perspicacious क्या था? A आ जाएगा, फिर से बता रहा हूँ. Perspicuous, clear and easy. Perspicacious, somebody who has a keen insight or perception. Somebody who has a perception word से बना है, जो सोच सके, है ना? So the professor gave a perspicacious. Perspicuous होना चाहिए था, explanation clear and simple to understand. So something without 3 is wrong. Option A is my answer. Now, in the following items of idioms and phrases, now we come to the word of idioms and phrases. Idioms are generally very tricky because the meanings are not literal. So don't try to translate them word by word. Understand their contextual meaning, and accordingly it will be very easy for you to go through it. So that is something that you can go through it, right? So let's start with the word to eat the leek. Okay, it generally comes from, I'd like to tell you where it comes from. To eat the leek comes from Shakespeare's play Henry V. So in that, there was a character named Fullen Forces, who forces Pistol to eat a leek as a punishment for insulting the Welsh tradition of wearing leeks. So eating it symbolizes public humiliation. So leek is something that we call is to accept a public accept a humiliation publicly. To draw the prime curtain. That's a very interesting word. Now this comes from Greek mythology, and what's basically the story is Priam was the king of Troy, who was killed when Troy fell. So the phrase generally comes metaphorically comes from refers to drawing the final curtain of his life. To draw Priam's curtain is final ending. So it'll be to bring an end to one's life. That is why we say Priam. I know you will say Troy was Paris. No, that was Priam. It was the story that they have made it like that. Next, to wear sackcloth and ashes. To wear sackcloth and ashes is to publicly express grief or repentance. Now, how did this come into being? It's a very interesting story again. It comes from the Bible itself. People generally wore rough sackcloths and covered themselves in ashes. जैसे कि अघोरीज होते हैं, like that. It was a sign of mourning or repentance, like I feel bad for it. So it shows it was generally it's for repentance. So option B is the answer, to wear sackcloth and ashes. To set one's cap at. Now it comes from an English custom. Generally, women sometimes tilted their caps or bonnets in when they were flirting with the men. So that is how this came into existence. Very interesting thing. So generally, you would have seen the old movies or something that the woman would generally show the cap or something, right? So it generally comes from that. So it is to attempt to attract someone romantically. To look through a glass darkly. Now it's a very interesting idiom again. Generally, ancient mirrors जो होते थे वो glass नहीं होते थे, they were polished metal. So they would generally produce blurred reflections, symbolizing incomplete understanding of something. to understand something imperfectly, to look through a glass darkly. Remember this where it comes from. So you should never forget the meaning from where it comes. To cry stinking fish. Again, old market English market practice was there. Generally, the fish sellers who shouted stinking fish discouraged buyers harming their own trade. This means they would do it like, say, for example, somebody is your neighbor and you don't want him to sell fish. So they would say, it's stinking fish, don't buy it, don't buy it. It means to disparage one's own case. So you're basically going against your own folk. To cut someone dead. Now, it's a very interesting word. It comes again from British social etiquettes, I'll give you. Generally, in high society, ignoring someone in public was a severe insult. And if the person, we basically say someone dead, means socially dead. So it means completely ignore someone intentionally. Very interestingly, another idiom related to it is give someone cold shoulder. Give someone cold shoulder. To throw down the gauntlet. What does the gauntlet refers to? Is to challenge someone. Again, medieval knights generally during combat used to throw down the glove. Gauntlet is the metal glove. अभी हम बोलते हैं boxing में when you throw down the glove or the mic, like nowadays in rappers, we say throw down the glove or mic. It means basically to issue a direct challenge. To challenge someone boldly, that's your answer, option B. To make a rod for one's own back. What does that mean? To make a rod for one's own back. Very interestingly, it comes from Old English punishment practices. A rod is generally used for beating someone, symbolizing punishment. So, making a rod for someone's own back means creating the very thing that will later punish you. So, to make a rod for one's own back is basically rod is used for hitting you. So, what you're doing? You're creating future trouble for oneself. To give the lie to. Now, to give the lie to is to make a statement or a false claim. How did this come into being? Generally, it's from medieval chivalry. So, when calling someone a liar was extremely serious, to give the lie meant formally declaring someone's statements false, often leading to a fight. So, give to lie is proving someone false. Now we come to S1, S2, something which has again been there in your papers for quite some time in CDS, and I believe it's going to come. So, what happens in this case? You would see this every now and then, and why this section is very important, because 10 questions are bound to come. So if you're not able to do this, it's a problem. And for most of you, if you're getting most of these correct, your preparation is absolutely on track. But if you're struggling, don't worry, that's exactly why we are doing these mocks. So you need to make sure you're able to go through it. Remember, here again, the goal is not to memorize. The goal is to learn words, understand the grammar, recognize the pattern. And if you revise these mocks properly, you will walk into the CDS exam much more with confidence. Trust me on this, like it's a fact. So just go through them, and important is to push yourself for it. Now, S1, S2 indicates the relationship. So when we say technological progress often produces consequences that its investors themselves fail to anticipate. S1 is a general principle that technological advancements, again I'm repeating, technological advancements produce unintended. What does it do? It produces unintended consequences. Produces consequences that investors then fail to anticipate. So unintended consequences. So I would like to sum up this in just 2 words. Remember that. That is what we would like to do, not to use more than 2 words in the following case. Now we come to the S2. S2 says the widespread use of social media platforms have altered pattern of political mobilization across the world. Now it gives a specific example that social media was created mainly for communication, but has unexpectedly changed political mobilization. That is what we have. It has changed political mobilization. Now, therefore, what happens is S2 illustrates the first. It is not unrelated, it is not going opposite, it is not weakening, it is further giving an explanation. Technological progress leads to something that we do not know, what is going to happen? Unintended consequences. उसका example दे दिया. The widespread use of social media platforms altered patterns of political mobilization. Now, the political parties are also using social media. So it means illustrates. Now coming to 42. You need to understand, just important words are something that you need to mark through this. Historical memory is frequently shaped by political necessity than by objective truth. Now, it claims historical memory is shaped by political necessity. It's shaped by political necessity rather than truth. That's what it speaks. Political necessity rather than truth. Now, S2 explains also how this happens. Nations often commemorate. Commemorate means they tend to think of events that strengthen collective identity while ignoring episodes that undermine national pride. So it explains how this happens. What is the case? Again, I'm repeating. Political necessity. Claim historians क्या claim करते हैं? Historical memory is shaped by political necessity rather than truth. It gives an explanation as to nations often commemorate events that strengthen collective identity while ignoring episodes that undermine national prides. Does it contradict? That's the case? No. It explains the mechanism implied. Implied means indirectly given. So option B becomes absolutely correct. Go through it, mark your important. In your papers, mark what you did right or wrong. Mark it up. Again, repeating it. Because that is what you have to do. Absolute powers tends to corrupt individuals who wield it. It's a critical principle that means absolute power will corrupt everybody. That's what it says in 43rd question. Many authoritarian rulers, somebody who is generally ruling with a fire and fist, justify strict control by claiming that political stability requires centralized authority. So there's a justification used by authoritarian rulers that वो बोलते हैं centralized authority is necessary for stability. बट एब्सोल्यूट पावर के लिए अथॉरिटेरियन रूल्स क्या बोलते हैं कि हमें चाहिए पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी के लिए एब्सोल्यूट पावर चाहिए. तो ये क्या कर रहे हैं? प्रोवाइड्स एन एग्जांपल सपोर्टिंग द फर्स्ट. जस्टिफिकेशन कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट तो नहीं कर रहा, हैज नो लॉजिकल रीजनिंग भी नहीं है. अब आप दो में कंफ्यूज हो गए. या तो प्रोवाइड्स एन एग्जांपल, इट डज नॉट प्रोवाइड एन एग्जांपल. What it does is it defends or it provides a justification why it is required, है ना? Many authoritarian justify word आ तो गया था, तो आप इससे ही कर लेते. It is that easy a question. 44th. Scientific skepticism means doubt. Progress requires skepticism and questioning. Scientific progress क्या चाहिए? Skepticism is essential for advancement of knowledge. तो अगर skepticism होएगा, आप doubt में रहोगे, तभी advancement होगी knowledge के लिए. वो ये बोलता है. Scientists are required to accept established theories without questioning them. Scientists must accept. What is the issue? They must accept the theories without questioning them. That is what they say. But ये तो अब क्या है? Opposite है. So it is contradictory. Reinforce नहीं कर रहा, ना illustrate कर रहा है, ना explain कर रहा है. Simple सी बात है. It is contradictory. Economic growth does not necessarily lead to equitable distribution of wealth. It says economic growth does not, economic growth mark करो और does not mark करो, automatically ensure equal distribution of wealth. अगर economy grow कर रही है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है हर कोई अमीर हो रहा है. That's what it says. S2 says provides in severely rapid growing economies income equality has widened. ये further example दे रहा है, उसको justify कर रहा है ना. Is it confirming? Seems like it. Contradict नहीं कर रहा, weaken नहीं कर रहा, has no connection with the first. Simple say confirming the first था. Excessive specialization may narrow an individual's intellectual perspective. अगर हम स्पेशलाइजेशन में जाएंगे तो मेरी जो सोचने की पावर है इंटेलेक्चुअल, लुकिंग एट डिफरेंट थिंग्स, इट विल बिकम शॉर्टन. दैट इज व्हाट इट सेज. इट विल डू दिस. Whereas my S2 says experts in highly specialized fields sometimes struggle to communicate their ideas to broader audience. It's also justifying it. Further उसको बता रहा है भाई, है ना, इलस्ट्रेट कर रहा है, कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट नहीं कर रहा, डिसअप्रूव नहीं कर रहा, इंडिपेंडेंट भी नहीं कर रहा. तो सिंपल सी बात है, ऑप्शन ए था. सिंपल सा है, लॉजिकल अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्टेटमेंट. लेट्स मूव टू 47. Cultural tradition often persist even with their original purpose has disappeared. So S1 क्या कहता है? Traditions continue even when the original purpose is forgotten. Cultural traditions ignore करते हैं जब तक even original purpose has disappeared. पहली स्टेटमेंट ये बोल रहा है. Many ceremonial practices continue to be followed despite people no longer remembering the reasons behind them. Further वही चीज को further different तरीके से बता रहा है. Does it contradict? Does it explain? Provides evidence for the first? Okay, explains और evidence में से आपके पास आ गया. Cultural traditions often this many ceremonial practice continued अभी भी चल रही हैं, तो example दे रहा है ना, evidence दे रहा है, explain नहीं कर रहा, तो option C हमारा आंसर हो जाएगा. अगेन मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ क्यों गलत है क्यों नहीं होता. उसके अंदर आप पहले तो दो सब्सटीट्यूट करो, कैंसिल करो, उसके बाद then move on to why do you want to choose this option. That's how you have to do these questions, and all these 10 questions are very easy. You just have to understand it. First, mark, again I'm repeating, mark the important things. Democratic institutions rely heavily on the vigilance of informed citizenry. डेमोक्रेटिक इंस्टीट्यूशन को चलाने के लिए क्या चाहिए, इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लिए सिटीजन इन्फॉर्म्ड होने चाहिए. When citizens remain indifferent, अगर indifferent रहते हैं to political purpose, democratic accountability tends to decline. Further उसके बारे में ही बात कर रहा है, contradiction नहीं कर रहा, logically flow भी नहीं कर रहा, explains the consequences implied. अगर नहीं करेंगे तो ये हो जाएगा indirect reference है, is unrelated to the first is again wrong, वो चीज गलत हो जाएगी. Now let's move ahead. Language shapes the way individual people perceive reality. That's the case. So that is what he's asking for it. Let's just continue. 49th. Language shapes perception. Language shapes the way people perceive. Perceive means things. That's what he says. People belonging to different linguistic communities may categorize colors and emotion differently. Different linguistic groups categorize colors and emotion differently is basically what it does. It gives an example of it. Is it contradicting? No. Seems illustrate. Now I'll tell you. It seems more like illustration. Next. Weakens is relevant. Irrelevant nahi. Option B rahega. Policies designed to solve complex problems may unintentionally create new difficulties. Policies for what? Complex problems may unintentionally create new difficulties. Just mark these words. That's it. The policies may create unintended problems. Regulations intend to protect domestic industry sometimes lead to higher prices for consumers. जो regulations है, it gives a specific case जहाँ पे protectionism आता है, जैसे गवर्नमेंट ने अभी स्टील के ऊपर protectionism किया हुआ है. It causes further higher consumer prices. Is exemplifies, seems like it. Contradictory तो नहीं है, weaken भी नहीं कर रहा, no relation भी नहीं है. It exemplifies with an example कि policies have complex problem unintentionally create difficulty. Regulation ने क्या किया, unintentionally government ने industry बचाने के लिए consumers को वो burden दे दिया. Now we come to rearrangement of sentences. Now please understand why is it important. This text जो section है, it generally checks your logical flow of ideas. If you look for connectors, pronouns, cause-effect relationships, this will automatically help you identify the sequence for it. अगर मैं बात करूं, इसमें हम बात करते हैं although है. Although क्या है? It's generally contradiction है ना? तो मैं बात, although it appeared to be merely an administrative reform, had far-reaching consequences, है ना? तो अब हमारे पास क्या हो गया? Had far-reaching consequences, उसका opposite contrast क्या है? Merely an administrative reform. छोटी चीज कर दी उसने उसको further define कर दिया. तो अगर इन दोनों को connect करूंगा, Q और P connected है, तो Q and P and Q and P, ये और ये cancel हो जाएगा आपका. Okay, so what did happen? Agrarian relief in several provinces of British, though it appeared to be merely an administrative reform, in several, in is connected, reform in, so arsist आएगा option A. Again connector क्या use किया, preposition को use किया और उसको solve किया. ऐसे आपको इसको solve करना है. Let's start with 52. It's a very simple one. अगर मैं बात करूं, that is there, but is a contradiction. But by the habits and conventions that support them, okay. That domestic institutions survive not merely by law. Modern political thinkers have repeatedly emphasized that. है ना? Simple सी बात है, R और P connection है. That is what we have. R and P is an option A and C. That is but obvious. Now we have to choose between A and C. ये दोनों cancel कर दिया. That democratic institutions survive not merely by law, Q, but by the habits. Contradiction, ऑप्शन ए इज योर आंसर। अगेन मैं कैसे करता हूँ वो आपको कनेक्टर्स हैं, आपको जितना गलत हुए आप मेरे को पूछ सकते हो। 53rd का डी है बिकॉज इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लग जाएगा, मैं सिर्फ आपको बता रहा हूँ कैसे करते हैं। बट अगेन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन है, देखो इन वर्ड्स को देखो, जैसे कि when, just look at these words, if you were able to do it from this you should have been able to do. 54th c, if is a generally condition. If economic growth is pursued without social safeguards, if economic growth is pursued without social safeguards, तो वो बोलता है अगर हम ना करें तो क्या होगा। A fact frequently observed in developing countries नहीं आ सकता इस केस में। If economic growth is pursued without social safeguards, a fact frequently observed in developing countries, inequality may widen despite rising national income. A fact, okay, हाँ ये रहा। If economically growth is pursued without a social safeguard, a fact frequently observed in developing economies during periods of rapid industrial expansion, inequality, okay। अब मैं आपको बताता हूँ क्या है PQRS, ऑप्शन ए लगेगा। P क्या है, starts the condition if, Q क्या करता है, उसको consequence देता है। R क्या है, अगर हम बात करें Q, a fact frequently observed in developing economies during, इस टाइम पे, तो आपका ऑप्शन ए आ जाएगा। अब ऐसे ही आपका 56 का बी है, आप मेरे को आंसर चेक करके बताओ कौन से क्यों हैं, बिकॉज ये मैं बहुत बार कर चुका हूँ। आई डोंट वांट टू फोकस मच ऑन दिस, आई हैव डन दिस वेरी रिसेंटली। 58th ए, 59th would be your A and 60th would be also A. Now we come to 61st, this is S1 S6, आपको कॉन्सेंट्रेट करना था। हाउएवर कल हम बात करेंगे कनेक्टर्स की, डिटर्मिनर्स की, जो हमें ये हेल्प करते हैं। तो 61st का आपका आंसर आ जाएगा बी, कहीं पे किसी को कोई डाउट हो पूछना। 62 का आंसर आपका आ जाएगा डी, दैट विल बी द आंसर, 62 इज डी। 63 आई वुड एक्सप्लेन, अगर किसी को कोई डाउट हो प्लीज पूछो, मैं पक्का एक्सप्लेन कर दूंगा। 63rd बी। 64th जो है आपका हो जाएगा ए। 65 जो है वो आपका ए हो जाएगा। 66th इज डी, दैट इज ऑल। Moving ahead, 67th is A, 68th would be A, 69th would be C, 70th would be A. That is my answers. Let's move ahead, 71st. अब ये बहुत important है. Again, something which I can guarantee you is going to come. Let's start with the word quiddity. What does quiddity refers to? It's generally, when we say quiddity, it comes from the word essence, the inherent nature or essence of someone, quiddity. That is something, that is a quality that is you're born with, usko bolte hain quiddity. Now what does well strong refers to? It refers to a person, particular philosophy or view of the world. That's well strong. It's a German word. Now panjerdrum. Panjerdrum is a person of authority. Panjerdrum, it's person of authority. Halex, short thick set person, generally a short person, generally we call it also as a gnome. Halex, gnome, dwarf. So we have here A is 2, B is 3, A2, B3. So your answer is option A. That is what we have. Now we come to the word estoppel. Estoppel is a legal term which generally comes from legal principle preventing a person from asserting something contrary to what is established. ये कोर्ट में यूज करते हैं। Estoppel, the government, the court did an estoppel. It's a legal principle, generally not letting a person say something. Extradition हम क्या करते हैं, हमने किया ना अभी, we did Abu Salim. It means handing over a criminal, that is what we say. So we have then word ansafruct. So it is generally a right to property, the use and advantages of another's property. Ansafruct. It's generally say that कि हम tenants जो हैं वो नहीं वो यूज कर सकते किसी की प्रॉपर्टी, उसको बोलते हैं अबोरोगेट। टू कैंसिल और रिपील, जैसे हमने किया अबोरोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 371, जिसको नहीं आता था वहां से यूज कर लेते हैं। A2B1, इसमें आ जाएगा A2B1, ऑप्शन बी इज योर आंसर। Now we come to the word punctilious. Punctilious refers to attention to detail, showing great attention. Somebody who is another word for is very meticulous. We use this word punctilious. punctuations होती है ना कि बोलते थे mark your punctuations, वहां से याद रखो. Punctilious is somebody who's very, who looks at everything in proper way. Again, fastidious, it's somebody who's very meticulous. Again, hard to please is because another word for it. Fastidious, like it's very, for my mother, I don't need, no matter what I do in my room, I keep it clean. She's very fastidious, like she wants it spot neat. That is what we use it. Mendacious is somebody who is full of deceit. धोखा देने वाले को बोलते हैं falsehood. Magnanimous is generous. So we have A2, B1, C3, and D4. That is what we have. Next word is solipsism. Solipsism is the theory that only the self exists to be proved to exist. Theory that only the self exists. सिर्फ हम ही exist करते हैं. Your self as it. Fatalism is that everything is. आजीविका सेक्स के लिए बोलते हैं ना, पहले से लिखा गया, everything is predetermined. Simple था. Ascetic, जिसने सब कुछ छोड़ दिया हो. Severe self-indiscipline and avoidance of all form of indulgence. Nihilism believes that life is meaningless. So some person who believes life is meaningless is what we say nihilism. C4, D3. Now A2, B1, C4, option C is your answer. Now we have this word syndoc. So what does it refers to? It refers to past represents the whole. That is what we say. Past is used to represent the whole. That is what we say. Next is apostrophe. Apostrophe is addressing about an absent person or personified object. Apostrophe is an apostrophe, something that addressing about a person. That is what we say. Next, we come to the word litotes. It's basically an understatement in which an affirmative is expressed by a negative on the contrary. So it is speaking something opposite of what is there. It's an understatement. Like say, for example, to say that Pakistan is a terror brewing country is an understatement because it is worse than that. It is generally creating a lot of problem. Antonism, Antonomasia is an generally substitution of effort from a proper name. That is what we say antonomasia is. So when we talk about all this, the answer would have been alpha. Moving ahead, dilettante. Now, what does dilettante refers to? Somebody who's an amateur, a noob. A person who cultivates an area of interest without real knowledge, we say is an amateur, a dilettante, or a noob. That is what we say. So it is also the debutante, somebody who starts something. Philistine. Now, Philistine is hostile to culture. Now, hostile or indifferent to culture. Xeno means somebody who hates outsiders. That is what we say. Sycophant. A person who's a flatterer. A person who's obsequiously towards someone. Obsequiously means obedient towards someone. Sycophant, we say it is also bootlicker. That is what here. Martinant. A strict martinant comes from the word this one, martial. So that's how the word martinant comes into being. It means strict disciplinarian. That is what we have. So these are the words that we have. A2, B1, C3, D4. It's option B would be answer. Defenestration. What does defenestration means? Throw out someone out of the window. Now, finesta. आपने word finesta सुना होगा. Finesta refers to windows. There's a big brand also, Finesta Windows. The word Finesta refers to windows. Liminality refers to a transition stage. Transition or a process of changing. A4, B2. Oblivion. He's unaware. State of being forgotten. Oblivion. Somebody, nobody cares about him. He's in a state of oblivion. So A4, we have A4. So A4, B2, and then we have C1. A4, B2, C1. Option A, abdicate throne. बोलते हैं to renounce the throne. Abdication. That's simple. Ennui. It's a very nice word. Ennui refers to boredom. Listlessness and dissatisfaction from lack of assignment. It also refers to boredom. So एक और meaning है. Trepidation. Trepidation means fear. Agitation was something that may happen. There was a trepidation. So it's A2, B3. Walschmark. Now, Walschmark is again a German word. It refers to feeling of melancholy, means sad and world weariness. You're sad about the world. Quandary. Quandary refers to somebody who is in a state of perplexity, somebody who's in uh, perplexity, confusion. That's why we use the word quandary. So it'll be option D for you in this case. Next, obfuscate. Obfuscate refers to something to make something unclear. To render obscure, unclear, and this is there. Coruscate. Coruscate refers to flash or sparkle. Coruscation. That's a very nice word. We generally use it. Coronation ke time, the king was coruscating. That means sparkling. Next is extirpate. Now, it's not expatriate. Expatriate refers to people who are from outside. Extirpate refers to destroy completely. That is what we refers to it. That is what we have. D4. D means vituperate. Vituperate means abuse strongly. That is D4. So you have this option. Option B would be the answer. Vituperate is also refers to revolt. These are words. Petrica. Now that's it's not petrichor. Remember that it's petrica. So what it refers to is generally smell after the rain. Pleasant smell that accompanies the first rain after dry spell. That very nice smell that you have. That's what we call petrica. It's a very nice word. Officy. Ossify. Sorry, not officy. It's ossify. It means turn into bone or become rigid. He's become stubborn. That is what we say. Ossifying something. Next is effluvium. Effluvium is comes from the word reek, stench, odor. It means something which is stinking. Effluvium. Affluent, affluents होते हैं ना जो एयर में होते हैं, वहां से वर्ड बना effluvium. It means a bad smell. Crepuscular. Now it's a very important relating to active or during twilight. To act or active during twilight. That is what we have. So it is A2, B1, A2, B1. So we are left with the option A. Again, now that's a word anarchism. Now what does anarchism refers to? Something placed in the wrong historical period is what we call as anarchism. That is what we have. A digital watch in a digital watch worn by the actor in the movie set in 1850 was a glaring anarchism, something which was put in the wrong time period, of course. Like we saw in a lot of movies, they make these bloopers, right? That is what we have. He felt that an anarchism is the modern office still using a typewriter while everyone using tablets. Again, it's something which is again placed in wrong historical timeline is anarchism. This is not anarchism, it's anarchanism. Chronic word से बना है. Chronic. वो बोलते हैं ना chronology, उससे बना है. Chronic. The scientists discovered an anarchism in the fossil layer, proving the species was much older than thought. Now, this is wrong, so you have only two statements correct. Pernicious refers to something which we would say extremely harmful or destructive. The pernicious influence of the cult led many young people to abandon their families. It's harmful or destructive. Despite its small size, the spider possesses a pernicious venom. Harmful venom, it's absolutely correct. That is what we have. Exercising, she has a pernicious habit of working. It's not a wrong habit, it's a healthy habit. So option 2B. Obfuscate. Obfuscate refers to make something unclear. It refers to unclear or confusing. In this case also the answer was B. Capitulate. I'm just giving you now quickly the ones. You will tell me which ones are correct and which ones are not. Capitulate means surrender, give up under pressure. That is what we have. B. Fastidious. What fastidious refers to? Somebody who's very meticulous. We've done this word. Meticulous. Very attentive to detail. That is what we have. So you have option B is the answer in this case. Again, tell me why. Discourse marker, something you would get to see a lot and we will discuss it properly. Okay, that's the proposal to restructure the department was met with fierce resistance from all the veteran staff members. Now it comes by. It is resistance was accepted because to proposal to restructure the department was met with fierce resistance from veteran means older staff. है ना? So it is predictable. Paradox means speaking something opposite both नहीं हो सकता. Furthermore, in his addition, notwithstanding नहीं हो सकता predictably. That's the evidence presented by the prosecution was circumstantial at best. Circumstantial means something which is not true. leading to a surprising acquittal. Circumstantial means evidence is weak. That is what we say. So here it is consequently, conclusively means with full detail. Inevitably means होके रहेगा वो नहीं है. Paradoxical क्या होता है? Paradoxical comes from the it's an ironic thing. होना था, है ना? The evidence presented in the prosecution was circumstantial at best, leading to a surprising acquittal. इसकी वजह से हो गया. Because the word surprising comes, it becomes paradoxical. Consequently means उसका वजह से नहीं हो सकता. इस केस में तो मैंने बहुत smartly क्वेश्चन दिया है आपको ये वाला. The CEO insisted on the merger despite the falling stock prices. Stock prices were falling. He authorized a massive hiring freeze to cut cost. Merger भी बोल रहा है होना चाहिए. He authorized a massive hiring. Accordingly नहीं हो सकता. Conversely is opposite. Whereas नहीं हो सकता. Even so, contrasting opinion है. एक जगह पे तो बोल रहा है फॉलिंग स्टॉक प्राइसेस में आप मर्जर कर लो. दूसरी जगह में वो क्या बोल रहा है कि इट्स सरप्राइजिंगली ही ऑथराइज्ड अ मैसिव हायरिंग. ही ऑथराइज्ड अ मैसिव हायरिंग फ्रीज टू कट कॉस्ट. एक जगह पे तो बोल रहा है अच्छा है कि हम मर्जर करते हैं तो फायदा होएगा. दूसरी जगह पे आप ज्वाइन ही नहीं कर रहे किसी को. तो दैट इज द वेयर इट इज रॉन्ग. Now we come to the 89th one. The discovery of the ancient manuscript has forced historians to rethink the entire timeline of the dynasty. So it's basically a change in basic or foundation. It's fundamentally would be the answer option C. The team worked tirelessly for months to meet the deadline. They were informed that the project has been cancelled. अगर हम बात करें, it is following a time sequence. After months of work, later informed the project was consequential. It is now going to be subsequently. उसके बाद timeline आता है तो हम subsequently करेंगे. Next, in the following item, pair of words is provided. You are required to select the option that most appropriately describes the meaning and correct grammatical use of both the words. Okay, what does redress refers to? It's a remedy. It is what we call as a remedy. Readdress क्या होता है? Readdress is to address again or change address. Readdress फिर से उसी चीज को बात करना. I like to readdress on this problem. That is what we have. Like redress, I give you example to remedy a correct or correct or wrong, है ना? Redress the situation. The court ordered compensation to redress the injustice. Readdress. Now listen carefully. To address again or change address or something. The parcel has been readdressed after the mistake. So when we talk about it, what is happening in this case is a remedy, and here it means to something again. A noun formal speech नहीं होता, prepared नहीं होता, repeat a statement नहीं होता, तो option A answer आ जाएगा. Veracious and voracious. Veracious. Somebody who's truthful, somebody who's accurate, somebody who's veracious, somebody who's truthful. The historian is known for his veracious account. Truthful, accurate, honest. That is what we say. So what does veracious refers to? Accurate, honest, truthful. Now, if I say somebody is voracious, voracious is somebody who's having a huge appetite. He's a voracious reader. उसको नई चीजें पढ़ना पसंद है. So what does we say is somebody is having a huge appetite. He's a voracious reader of military history, we say. Now, when we talk about this here, again, the option was A. I'm not going to buy and this and that. I'll do that later. Insure and insure. First, I want to tell you these words are going to come. It's inure and not insure. Inure and inure. In is to become accustomed to something unpleasant or difficult. You are accustomed to something unpleasant or difficult. That is what we say inure. Inure to take effect or to operate. That is what we call is inure. Option A would have been the answer in this case. Next, prescribe and proscribe. Prescribe is advise someone, proscribe is avoid. Prescribe, advise, proscribed, avoid. He prescribed medicines. He recommended that people should take medicines. That is what we have. Next, when we talk about proscribe, what does proscribe refers to? Proscribe refers to in the sense like when we say somebody should avoid. Phase and phases. Now, when I say phase, I was never fazed by people speaking something wrong. Phase. I am not fazed by people saying something wrong. मेरे को किसी की बात से फेज नहीं होता. I am not disturbed. I am not unsettled. डिफरेंट फेजेस क्या होता है, स्टेजेस और पीरियड्स, उसको हम बोलते हैं फेजेस, पीरियड्स को बोलते हैं फेजेस, है ना। डिफरेंट फेज है, इसमें आंसर ए आ जाएगा। ओके, मिटिगेट कौन सा बेस्ट तरीके से यूज हुआ था, ऑप्शन सी, मिटिगेट मींस लेसन। The new safety regulations were introduced to mitigate the risk of workplace incidents. I'm just going to give you the answers now directly because it's going to take too much time. Ingenuous is clever. Option A. Sorry, it's ingenious is clever. Ingenuous refers to naive. Naive means जो सीधा साधा है, ingenious होता है ये, ingenuous, sorry. अगर ingenious होता वो होता है ingenuous is naive, सीधा साधा. Option A. Complacency. Complacency means your unnecessary, uncritical satisfaction with oneself. Too comfortable. If you're too comfortable, we call it complacency, right? That is what we have. Option B would be the answer. Equivocal. He was very equivocal about it. Means one open to more than one interpretation. It's ambiguous. It describes an answer that isn't clear. That is what we say equivocal. It means ambiguous. अभी हमने पहले word किया भी था, ये चीज है ambiguous. Disinterested. Somebody who's not keen. अब आप जो नहीं पढ़ना चाहते उसको थोड़ी बोल सकते हो पढ़ ले भाई, जो नहीं पढ़ेगा नहीं पढ़ेगा, जितना मर्जी कर लो, no matter you give him the best. An app, वो बोलते हैं ना बंदर के जाने अदरक अदरक का स्वाद, सेम वे याद करना disinterested. Somebody who is not interested in studying, you cannot do whatever you feel like, they will remain in disinterested. So यहाँ पे disinterested option C आएगा आंसर. Equivocal, ambiguous is option B. Complacency का option B था. Okay, now 101 onwards parts of speech, ये बहुत simple है. Again मैंने बताया हुआ है जो ending suffixes होते हैं उसके ऊपर होता है. अगर मैं बात करूं TION, ANCE, ENCE, TION end हो, SHIP से end हो, ER से end हो, और से end हो, ये सब जो हैं वो noun होते हैं. अगर मैं बात करूं इसमें क्या आएगा, ऑप्शन सी. इसको मैं एक्सप्लेन भी नहीं कर रहा, क्यों, बिकॉज बहुत ही सिंपल क्वेश्चन है, इसमें C2 था. नेक्स्ट, अगर मैं बात करूं 102, ऑप्शन बी आंसर है. 103 ऑप्शन डी आंसर है. 1 मिनट का क्लास है, सीरियसली बोल रहा हूँ, सीरियसली. किसी को अगर नहीं आ रहा है ये बताओ द सेक्शन. 104 ए, 105 बी. आई विल बी डूइंग दिस, बहुत सिंपल है. आइडेंटिफाई द पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच गिवन दिस. अब मैंने दूसरे तरीके से पार्ट ऑफ स्पीच पूछा था, कैसे आएगा, इससे पहले हमने किया था दो वर्ड से रिलेटेड. The officer in charge of the battalion refused to compromise. In charge पूछा है, describe, है ना, officer क्या था, जो in charge था. It is an, so it modifies the noun officer, the officer in charge. So it is basically what we say is an adjective phrase. That is what we have. Option B is the answer. The commander ordered the troops to fall back before the enemy could encircle them. He ordered the troops to fall back. Now when I use the word fall back here, it means क्या बोलते हैं ऐसे, इट्स अ फ्रेजल वर्ब. बैक है, आ गया ना भाई, बैक है, बैक क्या है आपका. सो व्हेन वी से फॉल बैक, फॉल इनटू, सो ये क्या थे, फ्रेजल वर्ब्स. क्यों नहीं हुआ, अगर किसी का नहीं हुआ सॉरी, ये होना चाहिए था भाई. फॉल इनटू, फॉल फ्रॉम, भाई ये जो वर्ड्स होते हैं इनको फ्रेजल वर्ड्स बोलते हैं. ये तो बहुत ही सिंपल है. द अक्यूज्ड वाज फाउंड वांटिंग, आईएनजी आ गया, या तो जेरेंड होएगा या प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल होएगा, दूसरा नहीं हो सकता, बाकी सबको कैंसिल कर दो. अब आता है wanting, here means lacking. It describes the state of quality of the accused. Functions here, what was the state of quality like, because present participle use an adjective, option B. तो आपको gerund या उसमें से ही था, आपको I hope ये clear हो जाए. He was, like a very good example, he was found wanting in courage. अब इसमें wanting क्या है, किस तरीके से यूज किया है, quality क्या थी उसकी missing, तो adjective की तरह यूज किया है. Such was the intensity of the storm that the entire fleet had to return. Okay, इसमें ना गलत मार्क हो गया, एक्चुअल में तो होना चाहिए था that. Such was the intensity of the storm. अगर मैं बोलूं such was the intensity of the entire fleet. Now here, इसमें that था, इस करके आपका आंसर नहीं आ सकता. So that इसमें क्या यूज हुआ है, कंजंक्शन की तरह. Such was the intensity of the storm that the entire fleet had to return. So it was adding to सेंटेंसेस को प्रॉपर्ली ऐड करा था, उसको बोलते हैं कंजंक्शन. तो यहाँ पे मुझसे गलती हुआ है पेपर के अंदर मार्क करने में. He is something of a genius when it comes to solving complex problems. Something of a, it functions as a subject complement. It describes what he is. He is something of a genius. So अब क्वेश्चन आता है, ये prepositional phrase है, adverbial है, determinal है, noun phrase है. Phrase तो है ना, phrase क्या होता है? Something which is having a preposition and a verb together. So when we talk about the word genius, genius क्या है? Noun है भाई. He is something of a genius. तो नाउन फ्रेज बन जाएगा. क्लोज टेस्ट. ये बहुत ही सिंपल था भाई. इसमें आपके मार्क्स बनने चाहिए थे 10 में से 10. दिस इज द इजीएस्ट आई गेव. आई वुड से देखो पेपर में कुछ इजी था, ये सबसे इजी था. पीक्यूआरएस इजी था मेरे हिसाब से. बाकी वोकैब आई अग्री इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, बट अगर आपने वोकैब नहीं किया ना भाई अभी भी इन पेपर में से, और मैं फिर बोल रहा हूँ, लिख के दे रहा हूँ कि भाई इन 6 पेपर से वोकैब कर लो, आपके पक्का 50% प्लस मैं आज गारंटी दे रहा हूँ, इसके बियॉन्ड नहीं आएगा. Let's move ahead. The pursuit of excellence is not a destination, but it's a continuous journey of self improvement. Successful individuals are often, now अब आता है क्या आना चाहिए? Characterized. क्यों आएगा? क्योंकि past participle verb है ना? क्या है? Past participle verb. By the ability to remain focused even when faced with daunting challenges. आएगा क्या? Daunting challenges. Now, why did I choose daunting? It means intimidating, है ना? तो adjective है daunting. With daunting challenges. In the modern world where distractions are dash, maintaining discipline is harder. Scarce, rare, ubiquitous, limited. Now he says daunting challenge. In the modern world where distractions are dash, ubiquitous, हर जगह पे हैं. रेयर तो नहीं हो सकता, स्केर्स तो वैसे ही नहीं हो सकता भाई, वो कैब से रिलेटेड है. यूबिक्विटस, गॉड्स एवरी बोलते हैं ना, बहुत ज्यादा डिस्ट्रैक्शंस है. जस्ट in the modern world distractions are everywhere, maintaining discipline is harder than ever. Historians have dashed that great civilization. Historians have dashed that great civilization fell not due to external threat, have observed. Why did we choose observed? Because it is past participle verb. Past participle verb. That is what we have. because they become dash, they become complacency हमने किया ना, उनको लगता है भाई चलता है दुनिया में, है ना, within themselves. Therefore it is dash for a student to develop a strong character. Therefore it is imperative, it is very important. The word imperative means absolute necessity. Education is the dash by which a society preserves its value. Education is a medium. If a person dash to learn, if a person ceases to learn, they effectively stop growing. Because stop growing था, so it has to stop. Ceases. Wants तो नहीं हो सकता, continues तो नहीं हो सकता, है ना? यहाँ पे grammar से ज़्यादा वो कैब यूज हुआ है. Every challenge should be viewed as a dash to evolve. An obstacle opportunity. It should be taken as an opportunity. भाई मेरे को grow करने का opportunity मिल रहा है. That is what we have. So this gets done with the paper. It's very important, again, as I say, please go through the mock test very seriously, mark the questions you got wrong, revise the vocabulary and understand the grammar, because this kind of language जो आप देख रहे हो, it is very much going to come in your CDS. That's a promise. Preparation is not about quantity but about quality. अब आपको इतना अच्छा quality मिल रहा है, आप इसको prepare करो. More mocks like this I'll upload. I make sure that you generally go through it, because I can only do this. I can really go through this. Your job is now to revise. अगर आपने अभी भी बैठ के vocab नहीं किया ना जो पिछले mocks का है, फिर तो sorry, there is no point of doing this, because seriously nothing better can be done. Okay. Jai Hind everybody.